Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast, where we explore your hidden thoughts and desires, revealing your greatest drop the mic moments. Now, here's your host, Art Costello.
Welcome to Shower Epiphanies podcast. Today, I am excited. From Toronto, Canada, I have Brindusa Vanta. Actually, it's Dr. Brindusa Vanta, but she doesn't want me to call her doctor, but it's Dr. Brindusa Vanta. Brin believes in taking great care of your health and a basic prerequisite to reach your full potential and live life on your terms. Her mission is to help people transform their health and vitality using the power of nutrition and natural medicine. She is a medical researcher who makes use of the latest in scientific studies on brain health and provides one-on-one consultations to clients from around the world. Welcome to the show, Brin. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much, Costello. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to talk to you about, ask me anything you want, Costello.
I want to know, how was it growing up where you were and stuff? I mean, what's your story and your history?
Okay, so I spent pretty much most of my time, 25 years of my life, growing up in Eastern Europe, in Romania. Pretty spoiled kid, I must say. I think somehow we choose the family and the place where we live, and I chose the best parents, really. Talking about expectations, because I read your book and I think it's wonderful, I have to tell you that I got kind of mixed thoughts, because my mother was very much like, don't expect too much, don't aim like too high because you're going to get hurt. And on the other hand, my dad gave me the freedom to believe that I can get and I can do whatever I want. And then I had my grandma who was totally on the same page. So, of course, I decided to have high expectations.
That's awesome.
And I think high expectations, I think they build character and some form of like integrity, because and I'm not just talking about integrity like keeping your promises to others. I'm talking about personal integrity. So when you expect good things and you achieve them, you feel a lot better about yourself, right?
Well, how does that relate to you in your school years? Because you're highly educated, you become a doctor. Mm-hmm. Did those high expectations always drive you to be the best that you could be?
I would say yes. When I had high expectations, I got what I wanted. And when I didn't have so high expectation, again, I got what I was expecting, right? So yes, for example, I don't know, the first aha moment was in kindergarten when there was a bully kid there. We didn't call them at the time bully, but I was the only one who stood up and I told him to be nice. So at that moment in kindergarten, I realized that, people have to be nice with me. I expect this. And I see this through my whole life. I come across people who are nice with me and I'm nice with them too. So talking about expectations, yes, there are some expectations that I got them like since I was very young.
I think it's really important that we do that, but most of the time, young people don't do that. They listen to the expectations of others.
Yes, but in the same time, that's very true. But then my dad told me, expect people to be nice with you and you be nice with them, right? So I had this mindset talking about your expectation to deal with people. So talking about your book, where you're saying to stay away from toxic people and people who drain your energy, I rarely get around those kind of people because I grew up with a different expectation, right? To be treated nice and to treat other people nice. Another thing that I expected was to be a doctor because this runs in my family. So my mother and my grandfather and my uncle and 2 cousins, I'm telling you, it's totally genetic. So I grew up with, seeing white coats and stethoscopes at home and hearing my mother and my uncle, talking about different cases and saving lives.
The need to have closure in any given situation is sheer human nature. And when it comes to romantic relationships, this desire skyrockets. Has your previously failed relationship left you in immense pain? It's not uncommon for people to shy away from a new relationship after their first one fails miserably. The fear of the unknown makes them hide in a shell to prevent any future heartbreak. Relatable? Despite wanting to love and be loved, you can't take the plunge if your mind and heart are still locked somewhere in the past. Maybe you aren't aware of the power of releasing the past, or perhaps you don't know how to do it. Art Costello in his online course teaches the art of moving on from bad places to happier, more stable ones. This course can change your life for good, helping you beat all kinds of negativity on the road to eternal bliss. Sign up now before the gloominess gets the better of you at expectationacademy.com.
Yeah, I think that when we're surrounded by people that actually, my dad's family were all printers.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was going to be a printer. It was funny because my dad wanted me to be a printer, but I didn't want to be a printer.
Okay.
So I'm the one that broke away from all of it and changed the mold where, you decided, and it's a great profession. Being a doctor is a really, really, I think, rewarding profession because you can have a great deal of effect on people's lives, their health, their mental state, and all that. So it's really good. I guess it could be argued printers do too by what they print, but
I think anybody can add value to other people's life. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
That's true. And that is very true. We all can add value. It doesn't really matter what we are, as long as we're good people and we have good values and we do good things, good deeds.
That's very true. That's very true.
Let's talk about the relationship. You and I were talking before we started the podcast about expectation therapy and its relation to health.
Oh my God, it's huge. It's huge. I loved your book. And I think, my mom passed away, but I think if she should have been alive, should have enjoyed it. Because expectation, it's such a huge role in your health. And my number one recommendation for everybody who's listening to this podcast is to never lose hope. If you ever get a disease, and it can be a very, very serious one, right? Let's say cancer. Never lose hope, right? This is the most important thing. Keep your hopes and find a good doctor to treat you, okay? And if you don't have this serious condition, consider yourself lucky because it's not that serious and you have more time to treat and deal with that problem. I remember I was a medical student and doing my rotation in oncology. So I would see a lot of the people with cancer, right? And I remember one lady, she was 80 years old. She was in a really, really bad shape and she was waiting to get surgery. And one of the doctors came and said, look at her eyes. She's full of life. She is going to make it. Okay, talking about expectations. And sure enough, she did it, right? And then there are other cases, other patients that I've seen that they never came back. I would go the next day and I would see the hospital bed empty. So expectation plays, what you expect is more important than what your doctor is telling you. If your doctor is telling you it's serious, you have 6 months to live and that's it, you have to set up your own expectations because those are just statistics. And with the right mindset, you can beat them.
Yeah, I always believe that your own expectations are more important than others.
Totally. And now we have this new field of, it's not so new, it's for the last few decades, but not too many people talk about it. It's the field of Psychoneuroimmunology, where it connects the mind, so psycho and your emotions, with neuro, with your nervous system, and you with your immune system. And scientists found that your feelings and emotions are basically telling your immune system what to do. And if you're really sick and depressed and with a lot of anxiety, you're going to help your immune system to shut down. And when it shuts down, you are more likely to, allow cancer cells to grow and also get more infections, for example. You can also make your immune system attack your own body tissue like it happens in autoimmune diseases. So there is a crosstalk between your feelings and your immune system. That's the takeaway, right? And it's very important. And I realized someone may have depression and say, how can I have hope if I'm depressed? So it's more important to manage and treat that depression than any other physical problem if you want to go through and reverse the disease.
It's almost like mind over matter.
Absolutely. Yes. It's the mind-body connection. They're so connected.
So we're actually willing ourselves to be better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Most people wouldn't believe that they can do that, but I would venture to say most people haven't tried doing it.
That's the point. Yes. Because you put a lot of energy, whether you think positive or negative, you're going to put some energy into those thoughts. So you might as well think positive, right?
Yeah. Is there any techniques that we can use that would bring our mindfulness to a greater heightened state of susceptibility to our neurosystem and our immunology?
Okay, so we can go back to right at the genetic level, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have certain genes, and we have good genes and not so good genes, right? We all have some weak genetics. So if you look from that point of view, for example, there are two of them, COMT and MOA gene, that play a key role because they're connected with the levels of dopamine and serotonin in your brain, right? Mm-hmm. So those weak genes may give you a predisposition to be, for example, to have more depression or anxiety or even aggression, right? So you can work on the genetic level. I use something called nutrigenomics, so where I based my diet and my supplements based on your genes. So I can support those weak genes that make you more likely to develop depression or anxiety. I also use there a lot of supplements that have been shown in research studies that work just as well as the antidepressant drugs, like prescription drugs. Mm-hmm. Ashwagandha or Indian ginseng, it's one of them. There are also special extracts from curcumin that, they work just as well as the prescription drugs without the side effects. So there are a lot of supplements that can help. There is also exercise is one of the best antidepressant things, okay? If somebody could put all the benefits of exercise in a pill, we joke in the scientific world, we're saying that person is going to be a billionaire overnight. This is how important is exercise and how it's changing your brain chemistry. So diet is also important because, like proteins, the proteins that you're eating, the amino acids from those proteins, they help make neurotransmitters in the brain. So, for example, when you eat meat, you can have tryptophan and tyrosine that convert into dopamine and serotonin. So you're going to have more of those feel-good chemicals in the brain. So diet is important. Supplements, exercise, mindfulness, meditation is huge. I was just doing some research for my Zen master. I attend every Saturday mindfulness meditation, a group. And I did some research for him. So mindfulness meditation can help relieve anxiety and depression and stress, and it can help rewire your brain. And prayers, like you were mentioning in the book, prayers are huge, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a correlation, between meditation, prayer, and yoga and stuff like that. I think there's a real correlation on how it affects our neurology, how our brain works.
So very true.
And I'm not a doctor, and I figured that one out. But
You don't have to. It's connecting your mind and the body. This is how it's supposed to be. And this is something that modern medicine is not really acknowledging, the connection between mind and body. But ancient forms of medicine, like Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, they knew for 5,000 years that the mind and body are connected. And you can use herbs and supplements to even improve that connection.
Has anyone ever inspired you to discover a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled you? It is a magical experience, isn't it? Inspiration is indeed very powerful, yet it's often undermined. It can lift you from the ground to the sky in no time. Have you ever thought about returning the favor by inspiring the people around you? If you don't think you have it in you, we have good news for you. Art Costello's online course has everything you need to learn to supercharge yourself and shape your character into a powerful personality. Get ready to discover your strengths and unleash the creativity within. Don't believe it? Check it out yourself by signing up for this life-changing course at expectationacademy.com. That's expectationacademy.com.
so what supplements do you think are really important for our mental health?
For the mental health, so first of all, you need a lot of B vitamins. So they are crucial for your brain health. And what's the problem here? There is a lot of deficiency in this nutrient. First of all, because of the stress factor. Our modern world is very stressful. And when you're stressed, your B vitamins are getting even lower and lower. And same it goes with vitamin C. So you need the B vitamins, especially B12, B6, B2. The best idea is just to take all of them together in a B complex supplement because they work in synergy. So even if you need more B12, you need the other ones to make it, to activate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You need vitamin C, you need D. D, for example, vitamin D deficiency, it's very common. And in North America, it can be like 60% or even more of the population is deficient. So what studies are saying is that it's increasing 50% the chance of suicide if it is severe vitamin D deficiency.
Wow.
So first of all, depression is linked with vitamin D deficiency. And if it's severe, you have 50% increased chances to actually kill yourself. So that one is huge.
Yeah.
And you have there more sun, more exposure to sun than we do here. But this is very serious. Vitamin D deficiency can save many lives.
Yeah, they say now that if you're not exposed to the sun like we are here in the South, you know, that you should sit in front of a special lamp. They have a special lamp that you can...
Totally. You know it, Art. Yes, it's very important. And then, first of all, you have to be exposed to the sun. But it depends. If you put sunscreen, you're not going to get vitamin D. If you're covered, like most of your body has to be uncovered if you want to get vitamin D. And then it depends on the color of your skin, too. The darker it is, the more you block the sun rays. So if you have like more of a darker skin, you need to stay more in the sun to get the same amount of vitamin D. But as a general rule, let's say for fair skin, you need about 20 minutes a day in the sun, mostly uncovered, to get 10,000 units of vitamin D produced in your skin. Because the diet is very poor. You cannot get enough vitamin D from diet.
Mm-hmm. I was going to tell you that when I was a young man and there was a young lady that lived in the apartments when I was going to college, and there was this young lady that lived up above me, and one day her and I were just sitting at her kitchen table talking, and I noticed, and I worked in mental health then, so I had some knowledge because I was studying in school and I worked in a mental health facility, but I noticed on her kitchen table just vial after vial of vitamin B, B2, B12, B6, just all the B vitamins. So I asked her, I said, why are you taking so many B vitamins? And she said to me, I'm a schizophrenic. and I have schizophrenic, and they're doing an experimental treatment on me where I take these massive, high potency B vitamins. And she said, it has worked wonders for me.
Yes, they're super important for brain health, totally.
Yeah, and I kind of watched her for a while, for months. And what I noticed was when she was taking those vitamins, she was okay. And a lot of people that take a lot of medicines don't want to take them because it's a pain in the behind. Mm-hmm. So she would say, okay, I'm well now. I don't want to take them. And the minute she stopped taking them, within days, she would go into schizophrenic episodes. And, the doctors would get her back onto those vitamins. So to me, that was a testament to the power of the B vitamin in the brain.
Yes.
It's always intrigued me how it worked, with the brain. So.
Yeah, healthy fats are also important, like fish oil. It's huge, and especially the DHA portion. Fish oil has two key components, active ingredients or fatty acids. One is DHA and one is EPA. And usually the fish oil with high DHA is marketed for pregnant women because that helps the baby's brain to develop better. So that one is also very good for depression.
I take a lot. I take 9,000 units of DHA fish oil a day.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel?
I feel great.
You don't get sick, right?
Yeah, I don't get sick, and rarely. I shouldn't say that I've never. Most of my stuff is joint stuff. I get joint pain, but I played sports, and so my knees give me problems. But that's the only thing, other than trying to keep my weight down as I get older because I'm not as active as I was.
Yes, that's true. For joints, I would say, yes, there are a lot of supplements. Fish oil would help, but if it is high EPA, would be more helpful. Curcumin, it's also big. Cosamine, the B vitamins also help. And what I recommend, because I've been very active my whole life and I've got a lot of injuries as a result, infrared light therapy. So that one is probably one of the best that you can have for joints.
Have you done any studies about what do they call it? Where they freeze you? No, not chiropractic, but chirotherapy, where they freeze you, where they drop.
I went there. I can show you a picture. And I tell you, the only reason why I went there, first of all, I had some sport injuries and it helped like overnight. Okay. But the reason why I went there, I went with my sister. And when I saw that sauna, I'm like, I can't let my sister get there because if something happens, I want to try it first. That was my idea, so I'm going to do it. So what happened is, like, the body is going under a lot of stress, right? The body doesn't know if you're going to live or die because it's a huge difference between your regular body temperature. So the body is getting into a real shock, right? And in that process, you're releasing a lot of feel-good chemicals like endorphins and especially norepinephrine, which is the stress hormone. And you're going to feel awesome after. And what happened is, because the body is going to try to protect the most important organs like the heart and the liver and the kidney, the blood flow is going to go from the skin to the main organs, and then it's going to go back when you are getting out. So you feel amazing. And my shoulder went really like overnight after that cryotherapy. But what's really important is to keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Less than 3 minutes, okay? Because at 4 minutes you get frostbites, and at 6.
Yeah. Here in the States, they have it regulated. I've done it about 3 or 4 times, and it really does make you feel amazing.
Yeah. What I would do, I would be very careful in cases if somebody has cancer. I think it shouldn't go because the level of this norepinephrine levels are going really, really high. And sometimes this can be detrimental for somebody with cancer. Somebody who's got heart diseases, again, I would be super cautious to not get some abnormal heart rate. And yes, I highly recommend to see a doctor before trying it.
Yeah, it's amazing. what I always tell people, check with your doctor before you.
Yeah, but the problem is doctors usually, like conventionally trained doctors, don't know about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is more in the research world. And I'm doing a lot of medical research. So it's usually about 20 to 50 years gap from what you see, what we've learned in research studies versus what's in a medical textbook. And all the studies on cryotherapy, they have been done only in the last, couple of decades.
Yeah.
Japanese discovered this, and they used it initially to treat the rheumatoid arthritis. There is also research for multiple sclerosis, with showing that you can benefit from cryotherapy. I wouldn't overdo it.
No.
Okay, so I know it's recommended for sport injuries for like a few times a week, for a few weeks. I wouldn't go that often. I would do it like once every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, that's good advice. Being that we're talking about research, I have another thing I want to talk to you about. Sure. CBDs. Oh
my God, I love it. I just wrote an article about how CBD oil can save lives because, internet is full of stories. Okay, I take CBD oil and I sleep better and my joints, I don't feel so much pain and my mood is a little bit better. But the truth is, it's very powerful. So there are studies showing that it works when antibiotics do not work. So there are a lot of infections that with superbugs. So they're resistant to antibiotics. And there are many people who are dying because those infections are not, they don't respond to antibiotics. And CBD oil is showing a lot of potential to treat those superbugs.
Wow.
Another thing is it works for people who develop, who are taking opiate drugs and they become dependent on them. CBD oil helps them with the withdrawal effects and with all this dependence to opiate drugs.
Wow.
And it's also helpful for depression and anxiety and stress. So yes, considering all this, it has a lot of potential to save lives.
One of the things that I've heard through a friend of mine who's involved in the industry is that when you buy the CBD oils over the internet, they are sometimes compromised because they are shipped in trucks that the temperature is so high in the truck that it actually ruins the product, or it actually dilutes it and makes it ineffective. And so many people, particularly here in the South, because you go inside of a UPS truck and we're talking 180 degrees on a hot day.
So these active ingredients are sensitive to temperature, for sure. What I recommend usually is to buy from a local source, right?
But the trouble is most of our local sources, because I've asked here, where do you get your product from? Well, we get it from somewhere else and ship it in. And I'll ask, how do you ship it? And they'll say, well, it comes UPS, and,
Yeah, I get it. For example, I tried to get first time for CBD oil for my sister's dog who's got seizures. And there are also studies showing that it helps with seizures in dogs and also in humans. So I tried to get from the best source, the same university that ran that study. I said, I'm going to go straight to those people who use exactly this product in the study. And I couldn't. They told me in Canada, I cannot buy CBD oil from US. So I have to buy from a Canadian company. It cannot cross the border. But this was years ago. Run into this problem here because we have a few companies that are local here and there is no need for transportation.
So they actually grow, process it, and everything right there?
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
So you have to look at the closest that you can get. And another thing is, take the chance. If it's not working, if you feel any benefits, it's probably, okay.
I think that maybe the manufacturers need to start looking at shipping it in actually maybe some temperature regulated thing? Because
there is no regulation for natural supplements. They are not evaluated by FDA.
yeah, I know they're not.
So you can have, talking about vitamins, I would say about 80% of the vitamins on the market, they aren't good for anything. You don't get the real benefit. Talking about genetics, because I told you I go down to the genetic level, about half of us, we have a genetic mutation called MTHFR, and we don't really benefit from the regular vitamins that we find in the store. We need to get a highly bioavailable form to actually be able to process it. So,
is that considered pharmaceutical grade vitamins?
Well, now you have a lot of natural products saying pharmaceutical grade, but just look for highly available, bioavailable B vitamins.
Where do you find them?
Well, usually in nutrition stores. So, for example, for B9 vitamin, which is important for brain, folic acid can actually be more harmful than beneficial. You need to take it in the folate form or folinic acid. So if you go to a supplement store that carries a lot of brands, just ask for a highly bioavailable B complex formula. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to tell you it's a little bit more expensive, but if you take the regular one, you won't see too much benefit.
Well, I mean, expense when it comes to your health, what can be too expensive when it's what's your health and your well-being and your family's well-being? Yeah. What about sugar?
Oh, sugar. What about sugar? If you eat right, you are okay even if you have more sugar. Like you develop some sort of your metabolism is somehow becoming more flexible, and you can eat either less sugar or more sugar, and this is not going to cause diseases. But most people do not have this ability, so we need to lower the sugar.
Yeah, I noticed that when I stopped eating sugar, and I get real radical because I try to eliminate all of it, the sugar, even the natural. I stopped eating a lot of the natural fruits that were high in sugar. Mm-hmm. My brain function, I felt so clear mentally and all
Excellent.
that.
Yes, that's very true. Yes, sugar creates inflammation, and excess sugar is toxic for your cells. And this is obvious in cases of diabetes, right? When that too much sugar in the body tissue is creating a lot of, damage to the eyes, to the kidneys, to the pancreas. So too much sugar is toxic. If you cannot go on a very low carb diet, then at least go on a low glycemic diet. Yeah. There are certain foods that even if they have some sugar, they do not spike your glucose level too. Mm-hmm. So, for example, it's a big difference between a watermelon and the other melon, right? So watermelon can spike even if you say, okay, it's mostly water, it's got some sugar. No, that one can spike your glucose level up to the roof because it's high glycemic index. So yes, totally. I always recommend the low carb diets. Mm-hmm. In terms of high fat, the ketogenic diet that is very popular now, it depends. It's not for everybody. Can do well on it, and some people don't.
Don't know which direction you want your life to take? Are you sinking deep down into the pit of uncertainties day by day? So, what's the secret to leading a happy, satisfied life? It's taking matters into your own hands. But what if the matters in question are a total blur? Art Costello's Expectation Academy course aims to tell you exactly how you can get some clarity in your life. This course can be your savior on your journey to reinventing yourself. While you certainly can't plan your whole future ahead, you can definitely control twists and turns your life takes. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for this course now at expectationacademy.com. Get a chance to broaden your horizons and add meaning to your life. That's expectationacademy.com.
I've done the keto diet, and the first time I did it was years ago before it ever got popular, when Dr. Atkins first started the keto diet. But I didn't do his. I did it myself. I just wanted to eat, foods that were green, but his particular diet. I lost 40 pounds in a month.
Mm-hmm.
In 1 month, doing it. But now if I go on the keto diet, I don't lose as much, and I don't have the same feeling as I did before. And I don't know if it's because I've gotten so much, that ugly word, older.
I can hear you. All right. I also adjust my diet based on the season because we follow the seasons.
Can you tell me about that?
Yes. So, for example, a ketogenic diet, we have a higher demand for fats in the winter because we have to keep our body temperature. We have to keep ourselves warm when the temperature is going lower,
Mm-hmm.
right? Actually, it takes about 4 weeks to adjust to cold temperature versus adapting to warm weather. So during the cold seasons, I recommend more fats in the diet. And during summer, I recommend a little bit more sugar. But again, in the form of low glycemic, like berries and, that kind of thing. Not high sugar fruits.
Mm-hmm. What about dairy?
Dairy, I'm a big fan of buffalo, goat, and sheep, and cow dairy only when I travel to Europe, because cows suffered a mutation a while ago, and some of them are mutated. And what happened is that casein in cow's milk, can trigger autoimmune reaction in a similar way like gluten is doing for many people. So, for example, about half of the people have sensitivity to gluten. It will be sensitive to cow's dairy as well. So I'm staying away from cow's dairy when I'm in Canada. Buffalo milk is my first choice. And I enjoy it, especially the fermented, yogurt or kefir.
What is that stuff? Kombucha?
Kombucha is the fermented, yeah. Well, it's good because this is the hottest trend, okay? Our health depends on the health of our gut flora, right?
Very much so.
We have those 100 trillion bugs in our gut that are pretty much controlling everything, your personality, your thoughts, how you break down the foods and convert the food to energy. So it's huge, this gut microbiome, the importance of the gut microbiome. And fermented foods like kombucha, what they do, they feed those good bacteria in the gut. So technically, it's a healthy food. However, I don't recommend it too much in the summer. I recommend it more in the winter.
I wish they could make kombucha that tasted good.
Well, just add something. And then you need prebiotics, right? So fermented foods are a source of probiotic, where fibers from food bring prebiotics, which are feeding the probiotics. So it needs this combination of prebiotic and probiotic. People who have issues with allergies or histamine intolerance, they shouldn't use kombucha. They shouldn't drink because they can get worse. So whatever is good for one person can be poisonous for somebody else. That's why I like to look at the whole body and all the health conditions before I recommend the diet.
How do we know these things, though? How do we know? Does our body actually tell us?
Yeah, if you have a lot of food sensitivities, for example, and a lot of allergies, and you get all kind of rashes, you are more likely to have allergies. Then either food allergies, environmental allergies, then you probably will react to these fermented foods which are rich in histamine. So, histamine is the same problem in allergic reactions. And the same goes with pickled vegetables, like all fermented foods can cause troubles. So somebody with a lot of allergies, with a lot of digestive complaints, I would check to make sure they don't have excess histamine. Strawberry, for example, which is considered a healthy food, for somebody who has high levels of histamine in the body, their symptoms are going to get worse.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to that some things are always good for you and some things are bad for you.
And that's a very good point. So at the end of the day, you can read 100 books on nutrition and you can call me or somebody else for a consultation. But the most important thing is listen to your body. See how you react after you have a meal, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel you have brain fog? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel tired all of a sudden? Then you probably react to some of those foods. And it's good to keep track. If you don't do a food sensitivity test, which is not always accurate, but you can listen to your body and see how you feel. How do you feel? Do you feel more energy? Do you feel less energy? You shouldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
After a meal, you should feel that you're not hungry anymore.
I don't ever have those kind of problems. I'm not allergic to anything. Well, the only thing I've only been allergic to that I know in my life is when I was 16, they gave me sulfur drugs for something that they thought I had, and I had a severe reaction to sulfur drugs. Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought people were taking pins and needles and putting them in all over my body. Mm-hmm. So I've never done sulfur drugs ever since. Of course, I don't do any drugs now, but I mean, pharmaceutical drugs. I
think they're overused in North America. They're definitely more used than in Europe. This is what I like about Europe. In many cases, doctors would combine supplements with prescriptions. So
yeah, we're not very big on supplements in the United States.
I noticed. Mm-hmm. But, in the same time, you see new stores, opening. And there is a lot of research. Like 30 years ago, we didn't know too much about how many benefits can you get from, one supplement. I was talking about that ashwagandha or Indian ginseng for brain health. They used artificial intelligence and tested 800 herbs and see which one performs better, even to boost longevity. And, and other markers and inflammation and other metabolic markers. And ashwagandha scored as, the top one.
How did you get involved in research as a research doctor?
Because I've learned a little bit. I took nutrition courses. I went to college in Toronto, but I didn't feel like enough what I've learned there. And honestly, I use about 5% of what I've learned in school because it's so much new research. I've done that in 2006. So in the last 13 years, I've learned so much from the research world that, it's going to take another 20 years until you see it in a book. Mm-hmm. So if you want to keep up with what is new and what is working, then you have to get involved in research. You have no other choice.
Wow.
And it's fascinating. It's like we can reverse a lot of diseases now. Even like talking about diabetes, it's a common problem. There are studies showing diet and exercise alone, and you may not need to take medications.
Yeah, that's true. I know.
Was like a 10% of people, they didn't need to continue taking their prescription drugs just by using for 1 year a combination of diet and exercise. Add some supplements on top, and you can get a lot of benefits from natural medicine for sure.
Well, we're nearing our time to end.
Oh my God.
Yeah, okay. It's almost an hour.
Okay, so what I wanted to talk, I think I told you about expectation therapy because I think it's very, very important what you're doing. And people can use it to improve their health. Okay, and there are studies on this topic. You have to take responsibility of your health, and you have to start taking control of your health if you want to get better. And here is where you can add expectation, to have positive expectation.
Well, I think that anytime you think positively, that you're really on the right track, because just think about it. Negative gets negative and positive always gets positive.
This is my question for you. Do you think you were born with it, or?
That was something that I wanted to talk to you about. And maybe I
have some. I think part of it, I get it from environment, but I think I was born with it too.
One of my theories is I believe that there is a genetic code to how we expect. Yeah. And that would be a great research project for...
I told you, COMT, look for COMT genes and MOA, MAO genes.
Well, maybe we should do some research.
We can talk about it if you're interested, definitely.
Absolutely, because I believe that there is a genetic component. I have a friend at Tulane University in Louisiana that they think they just identified a gene for personality.
Oh,
yeah.
They play a key role, like dopamine. Dopamine, when you're talking about having, somebody who's got a lot of drive and motivation and, the type A personality, that's the dopamine in the brain. And then there is a genetic component. Some people will use it more than others. And interestingly, talking about expectation, sometimes they can turn bad. And you can get diseases if you don't have like faith-based expectation, like you said, versus fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go and you burn out, that dopamine that is giving you motivation can also give you diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure, because that very same chemical is doing many things in the body. So they're all connected, the mind and the body. And, if people follow your book to expect things the right way, then you shouldn't get sick. I think it's very powerful.
That is powerful. And with that, where can people that listen to this show get a hold of you?
Okay, so my website is drvanta.com. So it's very simple, drvanta.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I can share an email address if you want.
Sure. And we'll put all this in the show notes so people can just look at the show notes and know where to find you and all that. So
absolutely, yes.
So
my area of expertise is brain health. I deal also with digestive problems because the gut and the brain are very much connected. And yes, any questions? Or if you have researchers in your audience who would like to connect with me, I'm totally into that too.
Well, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show, and I'm just honored. And, you and I met in San Diego, and I just knew that we had a connection, and I really, really.
And there are over 150 people, and the conversation with you about expectation therapy was the most interesting one. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. And you're quite interesting yourself. And I'm going to encourage the audience to reach out to you and do some one-on-one consulting about their health. And I think that we can change the world.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's going to be a better place with less, negative feelings and emotions. It's going to be a better place. Yes.
Better health. It all works together. So, well, with that being said, let's call this a show, and we'll save some more for later. We'll do another one with Dr. Vanta. It would be great.
Thank you.
And it's just been an honor. And with that being said, everybody knows where they can get a hold of me, expectationtherapy.com. And I thank you all for listening in today. And Heather White, take us out of here.
Thanks for listening to the show. Drop us your comments and questions with what you want answered on the show. You can subscribe on iTunes and Binge Network. You can also get more information on the website, expectationtherapy.com.